welcome back to Low Budget Entertainment. I'm Andrew.
I'm Bubba.
And I'm Alex.
And today we're talking about 1977's Star Wars.
Ever heard of it?
No.
No.
Later it was referred to as A New Hope by George Lucas once he realized, hey, I can make more money if I make more than 3 movies. Today we're going to be talking about Star Wars. The Star Wars. Alex, tell us about Star Wars. No, I'm just kidding. Everyone knows what Star Wars is about. We're going to talk about it objectively, though. We're not going to talk about this like it's one of our favorite movies ever made, even though it is. So, let's talk about Star Wars. Bubba, lead us into the black, like our fearless captain or something. I don't know. Where are we going?
It's good. If I'm supposed to talk about it like it's not one of my favorite movies of all time. The story is always moving. It doesn't ever get stagnant, really. I don't really know how to talk about Star Wars objectively.
Alex, I lied. Tell the viewers what Star Wars is about. Briefly.
Me?
1 sentence summary.
Just this movie or like the whole thing?
No, Star Wars. A New Hope. Episode 4, 1977. George
Okay,
Lucas's classic film.
Star
Directed
Wars.
in Africa.
Star Wars is about
Star Wars.
a rebel princess that is trying to transport an object of value to her rebellion, but that is disrupted when her ship is attacked.
Are you going through the entire plot of the movie? It's in one sentence.
Star Wars is about a family, kind of. Oh wait, you don't know that in this one.
We're terrible.
This
This is awful. You guys, we'll try to look at it like in a single film.
Star Wars is about it's about an evil empire and a rebellion fighting that evil empire. That's about as it's in space
with a desert farm boy who's gonna be a wizard magician.
God, Star Wars is fucking weird.
Star Wars is fucking weird. Let's talk about it as if it's 1977.
Oh, then.
Let's talk about Mark Hamill in Star Wars. Star Wars.
He's very good at it. He plays a naive young teenage boy who just wants to go fight the whole galaxy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Harrison Ford.
He's Indiana Jones in space. That's
Indiana Jones
true.
doesn't
That's
exist in
not true.
1977.
That's very not true.
Dumbass.
Guys, it's a punchline. Get over it.
I'm sorry. Okay. It's a good movie.
This was a bad idea.
This is a terrible idea. What can you say about a movie that's been out for 40 years that everyone knows and everyone loves and everyone's
I'll
seen
say
it?
something.
Apparently. Will you say this?
Well, this doesn't have to do with just the movie. And actually, it kind of does. It's okay. So, I will say that 40 years of universe expansion, okay?
Mhm.
Whether that's sequels, prequels, even farther ahead sequels, any other sort of supplementing material, has made this movie better than it was.
Yes.
Absolutely.
That is very, very
That's what I wanted to say,
true.
but I didn't want to start off with that because that's just an instant dislike.
It's better when you know all the stuff that's going to happen later, and all the stuff that happened before, and all the stuff that's happening around. It's better to know everything.
Because this movie is not a Star Wars movie. No. This is a movie made in the 70s to make it feel like an old TV serial like Flash Gordon and things like that. So you take this at face level, and it's kind of
a good movie.
Schlocky. It's like
movie.
a great schlocky movie. It's the most simple action space adventure movie you could ever make. And I think that it's almost impossible to talk about this movie without looking at it from the perspective that it's got so much
That just goes
besides this movie. Right.
That just goes to say how much this one little movie, how good it had to have been good in the first place.
It changed
in order for it to, which it is good, in order for it to.
I mean, this movie
make
is
it
still
that big.
The biggest thing in pop culture 40 years later.
2, like, giant, expansive. That's funny. That's pretty funny. like timelines full of different, whether it's video games and movies and TV shows. It's just like so much has come from this one movie that was made for really cheap. I think. No, it was a big budget.
I mean, he funded it himself.
Yeah, but I mean, just like this, basically independent movie. So much has come of it, and it's more popular today than it really ever has been. And that's
I think
really
something
crazy.
that needs to be noted is the direction for this movie. Not just the quality of the direction, but the whole story of George Lucas making this movie. I mean, we look at George Lucas nowadays and we think he's that old prick that ruined Star Wars, but he's also that old prick that invented Star Wars and made this movie. And without him, you don't have The Force Awakens. You don't have The Last Jedi. You don't have pop culture as it is today.
He kind of set out to change the film industry, and he did that.
He was rebelling against
around that time.
man.
The only movies that there were really like serious and like old rich farts were making movies, and they were really dull. They weren't bad, but they were kind of depressing and just kind of
but that's
serious and very very like real. It was all about realism. And he thought that was terrible. Well, not.
I mean, this is the era where Steven Spielberg and Stanley Kubrick and Akira Kurosawa all I don't know about Akira Kurosawa. They all came out and were trying to change the future of film.
Well, yeah, and I know that that's a good point, because look at the landscape of film and how good movies are before and after Star Wars. Obviously it's just a time thing.
Yeah.
As technology improves, but there's a very clear line, I feel like, and Star Wars is that line.
I mean, the movie influenced movies that came out the next year. I mean, this movie is still influencing movies. It's one of the most influential movies ever.
It's almost like back then, they had come to a point where if you're gonna make a movie, it's got to be like Oscar bait almost. I feel that's probably all the movies that were coming out in the years preceding that.
Mm-hmm.
You pretty much had westerns
and this
detective movies.
Once this happened, it's kind of like, hey, we can still make old, fun, just good time movies, and you can still see the effects of this movie today, because most of the movies that make the most money today are movies that are like Star Wars.
And some of them are Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
And that being said, the movie itself is pretty good.
Yeah,
it's pretty good.
It's pretty damn good. It's just as good as the really good blockbusters of today. However, if you are a person that you've grown up in a culture saturated by Star Wars, and you know Star Wars like the back of your hand, even having never seen this movie, if you go back and watch this now, after you've seen Force Awakens and Revenge of the Sith and the Avengers movies and everything that's big today, this movie is a little dated.
It's a little bit.
Well, I mean, it was made in 1977.
Which, 40 years old, it's going to be dated.
Now, the only thing I've seen, contrary to what you provided as an example,
Mm-hmm.
if you haven't been immersed in Star Wars since you were born, and you're now an adult, I think if you go back and watch this, you'll think, it was okay. It was pretty good, but I don't see what all the hoopla is about. And that's one of the things that makes Star Wars so unique, is that I feel as if you get it, and there is a fan base, obviously, that's the most rabid movie fan base there.
I wouldn't even say it's the most rabid, it's the biggest. Because I think this is the type of franchise that, it's not like Star Trek or Doctor Who or anime where you get people fighting and you get people that just don't get it, and they're back in the day there were Star Trek nerds, and they were the nerds, but everybody likes Star Wars. Even the people that don't love Star Wars like Star Wars. People like your mom, who are going to go see The Last Jedi when it comes out.
But there are also, let's not forget, there are people who just haven't been with Star Wars, and I feel like this movie, if you start with this movie, people aren't though they might want to watch Empire, but
it's tough.
It's
in fact, I just
showed my girlfriend.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago, I showed my girlfriend, and it was hard to get her to pay attention.
No, yes,
and it's not because it's a bad movie. It's just because it's so normal to people who like Star Wars, you know, have seen Star Wars, that to other people it's just completely the opposite. It's weird.
Or to people that respect movies and understand the art of filmmaking and can see what a special
honestly
movie
I can see it being hard for them too if they've never seen a Star Wars movie.
I think you definitely have to respect the art that's put into this movie. It's general movie-going audiences that didn't grow up on this that are the ones that might be underwhelmed.
Because I know what you mean, because a year and a half, 2 years ago, when me and my girlfriend started dating, I was in the same boat. Isn't it interesting how watching it with somebody like that gives you new eyes to the movie?
Yeah, every time you watch a movie, and especially this, I was looking at it completely differently than I ever have before. Like, watching a movie with someone different, you see it through their eyes, so you notice things. Like,
you see more flaws when you're watching a movie.
Not necessarily flaws, it's just you see it in a new perspective.
Sure.
And that's kind of good, because, like, I was watching it, and I noticed something. We were watching the finale of the movie, the trench run. And I noticed, when I watched it this time, that the pace, and this isn't a negative, but it's very noticeable, the pace just kind of slows down, and it's all very, like, intense. And it's all focusing on they want to destroy the Death Star. And it's actually really, like, awesome. Like, I've never really noticed how much of a shift, because this is the finale of the movie, but it's not intense in like a giant action way. It's intense in like a very there's a mission, there's a goal, and stuff like that.
What interests me is that I often forget how A New Hope ends. Like, Han Solo returns and it's like, oh, it's redemption, that smuggler asshole came back and helped save the day. And that's great, and it's a happy ending. They defeated the Empire, but then you watch Empire Strikes Back, and you see how wrong you were that they didn't. It's not just a happy ending. You watch Return of the Jedi, and you're like, oh, it's still not a happy ending. Then you go back and watch the prequels, and then you watch the sequels, and it's almost impossible to let this movie stand on its own at this point in time.
And I feel like that's a good place to wrap it up, kind of.
Yeah, I'm sure if you're watching this, you've seen Star Wars. It's almost. It's just ingrained into the culture at this point.
Yeah, like, literally,
even if you've never seen it, you know what happens in the movie. Which is it's interesting to say the least. I don't know of any franchise or movie that is like this. I mean, other than Jaws and people know who like Freddy and Jason are and know who Superman and Batman are.
Yeah.
Without you don't have to see anything like that. But Star Wars is one of those, and it's still with us.
And if you think about it like that compared to like superheroes, this is newer than that.
Yeah.
And yet, I can still show. You could take a group of people that have never even don't even watch Star Wars. You show them a picture of a TIE fighter, and they recognize.
They'll be able to
they've seen
Star Wars.
Yeah.
Which almost is a negative at this point because you can't show someone the Star Wars movies for the first time without them knowing Luke, I am your father, or knowing who Yoda is, or knowing how it ends.
Which is a bummer.
It's a bummer, but it just shows.
It's kind of cool.
To show how important this movie is in the history of movies.
Yep. So are we gonna rate this, or
it's a 10 out of 10.
Wow.
Even though
it's really hard to rate it because I have like 5 different ratings for A New Hope.
Right. Well, we could have a Star Wars rating scale if you're gonna just go 10 out of 10 with every movie.
Right.
I mean, we could just have a ranking video after the series. Is what
I think we'll do that. I think what we're gonna do is go through every single movie, and then we'll have a special our individual rankings.
And oh boy, will it get heated!
It will get heated. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned.
By the way, Alex, heated is when people get mad at each other.
I know what that means.
All right. Anyways, you can go on.
Stay tuned for more. We're going to get to Empire Strikes Back next. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel. Follow us on Twitter at Low Budget Idiots. Check out our podcast on iTunes and check out our website. Thanks for watching. See you later.